So hi, I'm Kelly, and I'm going to tell you a story about a little girl that just graduated 5th grade, and sure, she had frizzy hair and was a bit of a know-it-all, but she was definitely smarter than all the other kids in her class. Of course, I'm talking about Hermione Granger. Most of you know Hermione Granger as the academically gifted friend of Harry Potter. She's also one of few students at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry that is Muggle-born. So being Muggle-born means that your parents were regular people. They didn't have magic powers. So at a school that was full of kids that grew up around witches and wizards, it would seem impressive that this regular kid had the highest grades in her entire class. But it was actually her experience in the Muggle school system that prepared her to outperform her peers. So, assuming British school system is pretty similar to the American one, children from the ages from 5 to 17 continually attend school, going from elementary to middle and finally to high school. But the wizard education system is a little different. Apparently they don't have any formal education until they turn 11 years old, and up until that point it's up to wizard parents to teach their kids the 4 R's. Reading, writing, arithmetic, and picking on Ron Weasley. So Ron Weasley represents a pretty typical wizard, and I don't think he did any math or even read a book until he got to Hogwarts, which sort of begs the question, Ron Weasley, are you smarter than a 5th grader? I don't know if you've seen the show before, but they asked some pretty tough questions. I found out there's a lot of words I don't know how to spell anymore, because I just use spell check to fix everything for me. Although I guess wizards probably use spell check too. Ron Weasley actually uses a spell checking quill at one point, but it starts misspelling things halfway through, and that's kind of typical of wizard technology. I mean, it all kind of sucks. Like this remember all that magically changes colors if you forget something. Problem is, what if you can't remember what you've forgotten? Sure, having a ball that changes color is really magical, but you know what else is magical? An iPad that just sends me a reminder that says, hey, remember you have a test tomorrow. And that's a lot easier than having to decipher some colored smoke. Everything that wizards do is pretty poorly engineered. I mean, have you ever tried communicating to one before? You basically have 2 options. Wizard video chat, which is talking to them through a fireplace, or you have to handwrite a letter, find an owl, and hope that owl knows where your friend lives. It's like they've never heard of texting before. But it's like magic seems really cool, but if magic is all we've ever known, then it's easy to miss what really goes on. Many of you probably don't know Joseph Utzler, but you might recognize him for his other famous quote, which is, friggin' magnets, how do they work? So this is taken from that insane Clown Posse song, which just has rappers listing everything that confuses them. But what the music video points out is that if you don't understand how something works, it can seem really magical. Like when Ron Weasley's father first meets Harry Potter, he asks him all kinds of questions about Muggle technology. And in a lot of ways, his curiosity is similar to a child's because there's so much about the world he doesn't understand. And he's worse off than Hermione because at least she attended elementary school. But think of all the things you knew in elementary school and imagine that's where your education stopped. I mean, I don't think wizards know anything about computers or atoms, and I really don't think they have sex ed either, which worries me. They only take a couple of standardized exams, and those standardized exams tell you what position in the Ministry of Magic you qualify for. But despite those kind of bleak prospects, it's easy to understand why a 5th grade girl would be attracted to Hogwarts. You're giving them a choice between unicorns and geometry. And having magic to solve your problems seems a lot easier than having to solve math and science problems. Now, we like to think of Hermione as this role model for young, intelligent, hard-working young women. But now that I've come to Cal Poly and become an engineer, now when I look at Hermione, I can't help but think, she's so smart, but what a waste, she could have been an engineer. Like basic geometry. She gave up on math and science too soon, and that's sort of typical of elementary school girls all across the nation. They're not exposed to engineering, and these girls don't just exist in these fantasy novels.
They're in classrooms all across the world right now, and it's up to us to tell them how important math and science and technology are.
Because if we don't, then we're going to miss out on all the magical things regular human beings can do.